We should be live, I guess. Welcome again. It's Friday, almost 10 a.m. So let's see. We need to have a chat window. Where's my chat window? So there we go. All right, let's see where we left off. I spent this morning working on environment variables from ClojureScript. I was talking to somebody who is trying to use this well, and I thought I figured it out, but I guess it only works if you actually run a compiler with the Clojure compiler as well, and then the Lineage has access to environment variables. So it's kind of messy, so I'm not very organized at the moment yet. So let's see, where did we end up last time? There's something going on in the neighborhood. The neighborhood watch is spamming me. Oh. Somebody thought a car is suspicious. All right. Let's get started. Let's put this on the analytics. All right, there we go. So let's see, where did we leave last time? We started our game, and we have some source, ClojureScript, QTTT, core. Start our REPL. So if I remember right, we initialized our board. We went through an entire generation algorithm, I guess we could call it, fuse board. We used multi-methods to generate cells based on a type of cell. So you have this multi-method create cell, which wait for it. I can boot up Lineage. Let's open up our development console here, right? There we go. So here we go. We have our beautiful board, which is awesome. Hey Bart, goedemorgen. So it's a very cold morning, isn't it, Bart? It's awful. We have a puppy since Christmas, and ever since we got him, it has become colder and colder and colder. So now I'm outside walking the dog in the freezing cold. What you don't do for family, right? All right, so we have this multi-method. We have the classical cell. We have the superposition cell, which is currently this numeration of 0 to 8, and have each cell. So we have a board which consists out of cells, and they have a subcell. So we can use the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. It's about the dog, right? Yeah, that's so cool. And then we can use the subindex. And we can use the subindex of the subcell. So, but you know, the dog, it is wonderful. It's a very nice little puppy, and it's cute as hell. So we do everything for them. But it is basically like going back to having a baby. You have to get up every 2 hours. And now he starts to sleep through the night, which is a lot faster than a baby. But yeah. All right, so we have this board, and we currently should go to open cells, right? And we should have a board that is quite empty now. Right. So what should we do now? Superposition. typing it wrong. All right, so what should we do now? We should create superposition. There we go. Basically, all these numbers, those are not very useful yet. We should create the same thing, but only have clickable entries, and then we go into a cycle of one turn versus another turn, and then selecting two fields. So let's start with the open game and have the superposition. Yeah, I guess the superposition, it's not very create cells. The I'm silly. Superposition. Yeah, good morning. All right, so these already contain the open cells, and an open cell currently has a highlight that says, hey, this player or this field is able to be played. And currently what we want is to just have something that we can click, right? So let's remove the spooky mark stuff like that. It should become empty. Let's add a nice little color, I guess, for the spooky mark, so we can see that the field is actually there. What you don't want to is to chase down a clickable thing that is like 1 pixel large, right? It's spooky. Do we have something for the spooky mark? We have nothing for the spooky mark, right? No. So spooky. We can actually make it open. That's even better. Color. Let's start with nice background color with a dash. No, I guess so. Let's make it red first, and then we make this open. See, there's nothing there. Span test. So, let's see. Right. So my background thing does not work. All right. Background color. We should reload the CSS. That would help. Let's see. Yeah, color and background. So used to Fig Wheel just reloading stuff that you're not actually paying attention that the CSS is not part of the Fig Wheel stuff, right? Right. So if we remove this, it should still become red, right? All right. So we should pick a very nice subtle color for this. Color picker. What is a nice color? Very subtle. We need something that's subtle. Yeah, we'll take this. I'll take it. Board. Reload the entire file, CSS, right. All right, so we have very subtle colors now. So we see that the fields are here. So I guess the first thing is to do is to be able to toggle a field. So we should have something that go for an on-click type of thing. Wonder if you can just do the on-click here. On-click, have some JavaScript alert, say hi. That works. And then that would be for hi from cell, that one. Hi from cell, that doesn't work. Maybe it needs to be stringified thingy. We know it has a value, so. Print lane. Oh, nice. Defaults to none. Now that is useful. Nice. Nice. You learn something new every day, right? If only we had time to look at all the documentation. I'm going through the closure define documentation of the ClojureScript compiler because I want to. Let me show you. Closure. There's these closure defines here that you can actually use. Yeah. Yeah, I want to use Garden as well later on, so that will be very interesting. Let's see, Fig Wheel compiler. One thing at a time. Very, very susceptible to jumping around. Let's see. Probably need to restart. Let's restart the Repples. Ooh. There was an update to one of the packages, and now when you close the Repples, it hangs. But the closure defines that we have here, you can pass these values. I don't know if you can see it. You can pass these values from your ClojureScript compiler to your actual code. So you can have different environment variables within your environment, and then when you create the JavaScript code, it can have those variables, which is very useful when you have API endpoints, and it works very nicely for things that are static. But I'm trying to get should actually probably read where we should put this, right? I thought it would be see, wiki. It's probably then a top level thingy. Configuration options. CSS there's right, and that should be probably in Fig Wheel. Right. Hey Martin, welcome. CSS has been misplaced. Oh, it's probably key should probably be placed here in the Fig Wheel key. Okay, maybe top level. Is that what it would like? Let's try it. Let's create one screen. And Bart, is it top level entry, or is it based on the build profile? I would think build profile, no? So these are all very, well, maybe it's top level, I don't know. Let's see. And Fig Wheel says, magic Fig Wheel. Well, knock on wood. Yeah, beautiful. So it was top level. All right, Martin, what we just did was to enhance our Fig Wheel configuration to actually also watch the CSS files. So if we, let's give it a try. And let's try change this to E, something like that. Maybe something that is a little more. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Nice. Nice. becomes even more and more impressive as we go along, right? All right, so where did we leave off? We were here somewhere. So clickety click, hello from 0, 5, 4. So now we know we can click a cell. And we already see that we need more context when we create the cell, because we need to know the parent cell as well, because when we click here, we want to know, hey, board cell 0, subcell 4, right? So we need to add that to the create cell. So let's see where we can put this nicely. Let's see what we have. Create cells, superposition, create cells, right? And that is a structure of cell, and so we could do parent, maybe? Parent. Create cells, Then create cells would need a parent as well, but create cells, where do we use it? Open cells. Cells, that's a partition, that's a row there, that's a for each. So we could probably, we need to pass it. So to create cells here. Create cells. Let's create cells. So this is a, this will basically put a list of 1, 2, 3 as that does create cells. So this cell here is 1, 2, 3, right? And then each cell, this would be then just 1, but we need to pass the parent along. So create cells, class cells. We could probably just get away with saying parent here, passing a parent here, and then the parent here would be nil, right? Because that's top level, and then we need to go into this one cell, and then the stuff that is rendered here would have that one as a parent. So that's within create cells, right? And this would be the open cells. This would be the, oh, I need to learn how to type. This would be the parent cell. Do we have more create cells? Yeah, right. So that would mean that if we do that, then create cells, then we should be able to get a parent here as well. And that means that we can say, probably doesn't need this, right? Kill this, right? From parent subcell that. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's at least something. Where did that go wrong? So create cells here. Superposition nil, it goes here. Superposition nil cells. Then it creates a cell, type class parent. This should be nil, and this should be this field, right? And then creates a cell of type class, so superposition, and that gets the index right here, but this index is only used here, right? And this is a compound key, of course, so we need to have the keys parent, right? Right. Oh. And then we have the parent, of course, not the cell itself. Parent, right? Nil. Nil, nil, nil. Almost. Am I? Board, superposition, superposition. Create cells, right? Create cells, nil. This is the superposition. And then it calls create cell, this one. And this one renders parent is nil here, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Parent is nil right there. So we need to. That's the one. That's the one. So this should be. Four. That's not the right one. No. Seriously. Keyboard to the left. Parent, right? So the superposition here, we go in, we mess it up right here because let's print it out here. We mess it up right here. Parent and cells. Oh, we can move it. Oh, iron. That's nil, of course. That's the superposition. That should be this block. And the block, that's parent nil. Because that's the board. And we need a... Oh, silly. So this is that one. So now we're into this iteration. And so this should be the... create cells, parent. Yeah, yeah. I think we messed it up right here. So it's going into the recursion here, class parent cells, right? Open. So it should first say the. Yeah, so it's building this superposition, which is nil, which is the board, which is what we expect. But then the open is also nil, because when it moves into the open, that's right here, this is the cell itself. This cell is then called from this part right here. Still very coffee. Very coughing from the cold right here. So the create cell, right here. So we need to know what the superposition right here is. Create cells, cell and cells. So we're basically calling create cell here, which is the key. So this should be print line parent. Let's give this the cells, right? That's cells, there we go. Doesn't really matter right now. Type, yeah. So this superposition is being called right here. That's fine. But once we are in here, we need to get the index of this one. So to create cells, go. Let's see. Parent 8. So now it's looping because now it has. Now it takes this one. So now it's iterating over this one, of course. But we need to set the parent. Parent. Silly. So we built the board and we say, well, 0, 1, 2, and just create the cells over this list. So 0, 1, 2. But we need this index. So this creates cells. The input here, which is cells, we start and iterate here. So this cell, this becomes cell 0. And that is a superposition. So this cell 0, then we overwrite the cells here. So yeah, create cells. Let's yeah. So we overwrite the cells. That's silly. So we overwrite the cells right there, which causes the because this is the next row, right? That's this row here. That the cells here does not match that. So when we render this one cell, it gets the input that says, well, you're at this level. So we should can make this parent again. Yeah, the parent is now nil because this cell is rendering. This superposition is creating the cells, and this cell right here will need to be the index of this field. So that is the index, and that index, we create cells, we loop over it. In this case is cell, but this is going wrong, this is going wrong. We need this value. Alright, this is going back in circles and circles and circles. Yeah, because I'm making a very big thinking mistake. It's flu season here, so it's horrible. We need to, this parent is actually create cells for this index, and this creates cells is being called right here. So this is superposition field, which then renders open fields for this index. So here we need to know what is the index of that cell being rendered. So in this create cell, that is currently, so this create cells calls the superposition, so 1, 2, 3, and then here we call the index of that cell right here, and then superposition calls and says, hey, I'm going to render cell 1, which is fine, right? So this would be cell 0 really. Cell 0, right? And maybe we can just, where's open is here. Let's put a span, no, let's put it in the TD, right? Span saying parent and cell. Currently it will say yeah, so it's looping together with the fields, so this is much better to do, right? So we need to differentiate this at this point, the parent. Either we've been doing it wrong the entire time, right? But here we do the create cell, so this needs to be a parent. Yeah, so that's nil. Create cells. Cells is where. So first we iterate over the superposition. That's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Create cells here, and this just iterates. So that should be able to say at this point we know the index. If we make a classical, let's make a classical, see what happens. I'm classical, yes, beautiful. And create cell now has right. So, all right. So that's correct, right? So, but now at this point, the cell is the index of the, so this value is the index of the field, right? So when we go into the superposition, it should have a cell as well. Position. Right. Beautiful. All right. Silly. And parent is quite useless, right? I don't think that parent at any given time is set to something useful. All right. I removed 0, 1, 4. Beautiful. Yeah, at least. All right. So that's something. All right. So let's remove this. Let's remove that. Let's remove some of these spurious things here, and we can take a look at the parenting, right? So top cell, create cells gets parent. The parent goes in here, but it then is no longer used. The parent cell, yeah. Oh no, it goes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the parent is actually used. Beautiful. Right. All right, so we have that part. All right. So now we need to say we have 0, 0. It is clicked, so we toggle it. So we change the mark. So we change the background color. So let's do that. Let's first take some CSS and say open mark. We should probably have some mark already. No. Nope. All right. So we mark. No, let's just do that. and then we change the background color to something else. We have this color picker right here, so let's say we do it somewhere in the pinkies. Why not? Should never be afraid of pink, right? Alright, so we have that. So now we need to toggle the class based on the selection, if it is selected or not. Let's see, what would be a good way to do that, right? So we're using Reframe. We have our database, so we should dispatch an event saying, hey, this field is toggled, and then within the field we should subscribe to changes of the state of the field. So that means in the database we should have a structure that is reminiscent of the board, and the board will keep track of what is inside that field, because now we're just toggling it, but then we need to say, well, it is actually the turn 1 of player 1 and turn 1 of player 2, and then we later on need to collapse it. So let's open up the DB. So we have this board already, so now we can start using some. It's basically an index, right? So index 2 of index 0, what is the value of that? So let's open up that REPL. Let's figure out some way. Right. So we have probably get in is probably something that we would want to use. Close your docs. Let's see, get in. Probably can use that, yeah. So we can say, let's say we have index field 0. Oh, no, I did not see that yet. Let's see, GitLab. Apparently I don't get notifications of this, so I need to take a look at it. Let's see, issues 1. Yes. Yes, yes, true story. True story, we should do that, definitely. I wonder why I don't get notifications. I will fix that. Do you have any suggestions for it? So, should probably do something. Okay, yeah, I'm quite curious because what Martin is saying is that we have quite some repetition right here. We have this for loop right here. And we have basically the same for loop right here. Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. How slow? Let's check out the stream. Let's see what is going on in the YouTube land. Quantum Tic Tac Toe. Let's see where we are. Oh, stop. Oh, I see. It's quite it's quite delayed. Oh, that's horrible. So if I unmute the sound. I wonder. Click. Oh, it's quite slow. All right, that's horrible. Maybe we should try another chat thing. The YouTube apparently chatting while live streaming is hard. I know with the other live coding platforms, they also suffer this problem because you have to process the live stream, which is done on all the encoders and decoders, and you call it, and then on the chat side you have just probably an XMPP server or something like that, and it becomes very. The XMPP protocol is quite fast, so you have a very fast chat or a very slow chat because you try to sync it up. All right, let's see. We need some structure for the board. So we have. Maybe we can just do this 1, 2, and then. True. Let's see what is that even possible? Always trying to do. Yeah, that does not work. That does not work. And I probably did it the wrong way round. Oh, of course. Silly me. Silly me, silly me. So a board has a. Now let's figure this out. So a board has a index, and the index has a list of cells again. So let's say we have that, and it has the value true, right? Right. Right. So then we can say, and this would be the first one, right? Right. So we can say that, and then we should get the value of the first element, right? That means we need to predefine the entire board. Would we be able to get a, which is okay, I guess. Which is okay, but would be nice to have. Would be nice to have a structure that we can just connect by using them. So board 1 field 4. Well, let's try that. Board 1 field 4. Right, and then this would be the metadata of the field. So toggle true, right? Okay, yeah, silly. Okay, so then we can just keep track of the mutations of the board, so we don't need the entire board, which is much better. So what does that mean? We take this one and say okay. So we have this board right here. Let's say that That's true. That's true. We're currently assuming that that's true. I think Martin is, you are referring to create cells, open, and the cell has a type, yes. Oh. Well, we can basically, I think you're referring here to this part. We can basically create a macro which just, or macro, hear me. We can just do this, right? We can take this as a, let's see, do this one, extract function, right? Yeah. All right, so we take this, move this all the way up, say defen something, and then generate cells type, right? And this would be type, right? So, and then we could say generate cells of type believe we did open, right? Yeah. And then we need to pass index, I guess. Superposition nil. Would it still work? No, because I moved too much stuff around. Yes. Create cells, of course. We need to move that right here, right? Bam. And open would be type and index, and that would be parent. Almost. Because we did this, and then we did that, right? And we put this one right here. See this, we move this one out, it's okay, bam. And we say open parent, that should render the same. Oh. Let's undo my mess right now. Send me. So remove this. This is where we left off. Right. Okay. I should actually do that more carefully. All right. Let's see. Forward. That part is right here. All right. So let's give this another try. Let's copy that and say defen generate cells, right? And then we need some inputs. And that would be the parent right here. Parent, and we need a type, right? That's this one. And the rest is all the same, right? So if we have this one, we could say we comment out this one. This means that nothing renders, right? Render exactly. And then we do generate cells of open and actually pass cell here, right? Okay. And then we can say we copy. Much better. Okay. And we do generate cells of superposition with no parent. Still the same. How do you like that, Martin? It removes the redundancy. Much more elegant, right? Generate sales, yeah. Right. There we go. Yeah. All right. Much nicer. Very good. All right. So we assume that we click a field, then we dispatch to the database, and in the database we keep track of the fields and if they are clicked or whatever. So we could create an index of cell 0, subcell 1, toggle true. And then based on that, we can subscribe to the state of that one cell. And then we use reframe in our advantage. So let's say we create an event. That's not the one. That was a different project, right? We have these events. So in the grand scheme of things, we will have different views with events. So let's create a board events for, and then board.cljs. Let's make events board. Yeah, there we go. Make a directory. Cider is not very helpful at the moment. Close your code. Okay, so we have that, and then of course we add the reframe core. So we can do the reframe register event. Oh, the dog is barking. Let's see if. All right. I need to check on the dog. I will be back in a few seconds. Waarom was je aan het aanstaan? Kom. So meet Taro, the puppy. Yeah. He was barking, so probably something spooked him. All right. Yes. All right. We need the events. Ga maar lekker liggen. Ja, is goed. All right, so let's see if this works, and else we will cut it short for today. Let's say we call it toggle cell. Do we need any parameters? No, just the function, right? So we have the function, which is the co-fx, which has the database, of course. So we can just say it's not just the database, right? Yeah, I believe it's just the database. So let's go into the reframe documentation, master docs, events, effects. Yeah. Minus dB. They changed it again, or they changed a little bit. Let's see, the co-effects, the effect handling infographic. I think it's just the co-effects. This is probably just the dB that we have here right now. Let's do a print line of the dB. Come. So he's already getting too big to sit on the lap, which is quite funny. Right, and so when we have the board and the view, when we have to click here, first we need to add reframe, core, reframe, so we can do the, right, so we can do a dispatch. Reframe slash dispatch, right, and we do toggle cell, right. Let's see what happens. That should give us in here, and we should get a look at the database. Toggle cell, register event. No, oh, and that's because we. What are you eating? He's eating my chair. We did not include it in the core, so the event is not loaded. We could probably include it in a view here, so that the compiler will pick it up. Qtt dot events.board. It's board. Right. Then should trigger the events, right? So we see that indeed the register event db gets just the db, so we can just associate in there as well. So we can say assoc in db ttt, yeah. So we have this. Let's see. What are you doing? Silly little dog. He has to get used to me working in my office. So we thought about putting a basket here as well, so he can sleep there. But he needs his bench still to get some rest. Yeah, don't eat that thing, man. Close scripts. So let's see, we have an assoc in. Currently it is let's say an empty map. So it's in. Yeah. There we go. So it's in, so we could say 1 4. And that would be toggle true. Yeah, so that builds exactly what we want, right? So we can take this, and then we go into our events. Right, so we do this, and then not only do we need, let's open the DB. We need to have the board as well, so it is the board, and then we need the parent cell and cell and subcell. We can do that subcell, right? So yeah, then we have that, and that means that we need to say we have the key, and then we have cell and subcell. That should be about right. And then in the view, when we do this, we do the parent and cell. And then this means that we should, don't chew on me. That means that we have this one, and let's, for the heck of it, do a print line of the DB. Then we should see it. Oh, we have the refrisk, so keep that in mind, right? So if we open up this one, we should see the DB, it is nil. Oh, that's interesting. Let's reload the... Right. So now we should see that the board it is doing quite something. Not entirely what we want yet, or either refrisk is not doing what we expect it should do. That's handlers. So currently it is just overriding the one element in the DB. Oh, yeah, because I'm not returning it. I'm not doing it in the DB. I'm doing it in an empty map. So that's exactly what we should be seeing. Let's reload it. Right. Open up refrisk. Have the game state right here. So 1.7 should go into a toggle state 5.2. 4.3, right, and then 8.4, 0.1. So that becomes quite nice. So we have the metadata of the cell, and now what we need to do is to take when we render this cell, we need to actually subscribe to the metadata of that cell, and that would be a subscription. Subs board.cljs. Let's make the directory. There we go. And also here we will add timer. Add reframe, right? And then we do a reframe register sub, right? And register sub has the following subscription. So it should be right here. Register sub, right? So cell meta, right? And then we can basically have some. I've got you. We could probably say function database, and this should probably be event, and then cell and subcell. Let's see if it works that way. Print line subscribing. Well, let's scribing to cell subcell. And then we say get in DB board cell. You're falling. Subcell, right? When you get a puppy, they're nice and small, and then they start sitting on your lap. They like it, and then they grow, and they still like to sit on your lap. In their views, then when we render the cell, which is currently this one, the cell open, we need to have it re-render when the metadata changes. So at this point, we need to say let reframe subscribe, right, to cell meta for parent cell, and then hey, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that's very good. All right. So, and then we need to actually not be silly and give it a name, data, and make this function call, of course. And let's use this and say, make a string of data. Now we should see nothing. Yeah, because we need to. I think the dog needs to go for a walk. We see errors. That's also fine. No subscription because we did not subscribe. Add it to reframe. Not reframe qtt dot subs dot board would be. So there we have it. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. The dog needs to go for a walk, I think. All right. So if we go here and let's say then we right, open, right. Okay. Then we change the class here to be if toggle in data, then mark and else open. Right, there we go. So now we can toggle the fields, which is quite nice. Very nice. Very nice. So now we can add, yeah, so we can remove the subs and the print line. So this works, right? So that's quite elegant. So we tell the backend database, hey, this one is toggled. Currently we only toggle to true, I guess. Events. Yeah, we only toggle to true. So you select it. Guess you can call it select. Nice. That's beautiful. Beautiful. So now we need to chill, dummy. We need to set up our player stuff and then say, well, this field was toggled by player 1, this field is toggled by player 2, in turn that. So that will be part of the metadata here. And then based on that, we can also collapse everything. So that's quite nice, Okay. So what we need is to have a player indicator, so we can say whose turn is it? Turn 1, 2, 3. We can set that off to the number of players, I guess. Yeah, so we have some game state. So the one thing, let's start with having just tracking at what point the field was actually being toggled. That would actually be the round, I guess, for the game. Or turn is good, I guess. DB spec. Creating a specification that the DB is also always correct. DB based on a specification like schema and in 1.9 spec. That would be a very good thing to do, actually. Yeah, I think that would be a very good thing to do, right? And then we can validate it. So let's add that. Add schema to this. Right. Yeah. So toggled and turn, right, and then we need. So, all right. So let's see. When we start here, we give it a click. We toggle a cell, and a player needs to toggle 2 cells in different. Has to toggle 2 subcells in different cells, and the cell that was clicked first would be excluded from the possibility to do another cell, right? So let's see, what do we need to set up? We need to set up that we have a player of 2 players, really. Is that really relevant now? No, so let's we have the ability to toggle. So let's say we want to toggle pairs now. Let's see how we can do that. That would be in the game logic. We could say that we need to have a pair of toggles. So we say, don't chew me, doggy. Okay. So we click one and the other, and then we move on to a part. So we can say the board in view. That would be the game logic, basically saying, okay, you press something. Yeah, and then in events we can say the state goes to something else. So maybe we can say we have something within state that says something like state select. Yeah, that's not really going to do it. We need to have a way to say you need to toggle 2. So Martin, do you have any suggestions for that? Maybe have it is some basic logic here, of course. So maybe we can say do a select pair. First you toggle 2 cells, and then when you have selected a pair, it confirms it or something like that. Interesting. Turn. Do select cell, and when you have 2 cells selected, it should validate it as well. Well, when we have the 2 cells selected, also needs to actually go and do the other logic that says, hey, you need to start collapsing, those type of things. So we need something, and we need that, right? So we need a method that says you selected it, and now I will evaluate the board. And either you have selected 1 and you need to do something still, or you have selected 2 and then need to examine the board to see if it, what the next step will be. Either we go into a collapse, either select 2, we do a collapse, or it is finished, right? Playing states, all right. Yeah, so we can say the turn it triggers, okay, you've started a turn, you select 2, and so maybe we can say current selection, and that should be a list, or should be 2 cells really, right? So that should be something like choice cell 1, cell 2. Right, and that's selection. And then it's the player's end. So we need, those are events, so we can say, yeah, maybe we can say, well, we can make it a state machine, right? So we have select 1, select 2, and then it is either collapsed or it is select 1 for another player. That might work. So reframe register event db, select 1. Would that work? Saying okay, do select 1. That's the first one, which is the toggle of the cell. Select 2, which is a toggle of the cell, but then it also should validate that it is not not in the same cell as the other one. That might work. So, and those would be effects, because you don't want to replicate the toggle part, right? So then it would be keys db of the co-effects, right? And then we say db, and this gets data as well, so we can say cell sub cell, and what we can do here is, well, we don't need to check only select unselected, right? That should also be on the front end, I guess. That should be in this field. If the toggle is already true, you cannot click it anymore. So let's build that. So if it is right, then we can say if not, probably if not, right? If not, right? Toggle in the data. If not toggle in data, you can do the dispatch. Right? So then we should events calling. Let's see. Let's reload this. Toggle. Oh, that was the wrong key. Toggle, and that is only possible if toggle of data is not nil. Not let's see. Let's just handle that in the backend, because it can be nil, of course, because there can be no state, right? So we can ensure not toggling toggled fields, cells, right? Yeah, we can do that right there, so we don't need to do that. We can do that in the selection as well. We should see if it's a valid field. Valid field. Yeah. Valid cell, right? And then we can either select the first or the second, and the second can trigger things like other game states. Yeah, I need some thinking about this, but I think it's a good step. All right, I'm going to sign off because the dog needs to go for a walk, I guess. It's kind of maybe we have a little bit of time because the dog is going back to sleep. Yes. So yeah, so we have these toggles right here, and the events, we would have a bit of internal game API right here, and these would be the actual public events. So we can have our game logic saying, hey, what field, what cell was pressed, if is the valid cell, then valid cell, db cell subcell, based on the internal state of the game, is this a valid cell? So we can say let meta be get in db board cell subcell if oh, thanks Greg, welcome. Toggle of the meta, then it is false, and else it is false, and else it is true. Right, so we should only toggle a if valid cell db cell subcell print line, toggling cell, and else it would then we should use a when, because else I bite myself again. And else it should, no, it should just be an if, right? And else it should just return the DB, right? And can we do something with that? Right. So now we have this one cell that is already selected, right? 0, 0, and it's already toggled. Toggle true. So if we change this to be false, right, then the code will reload, and if we click on it, nothing should happen. And if we click on the next one, nothing happens as well. True. Let's see. Print line valid cell subcell. Bum bum bum. Oh, that's silly. Right, alright. So the overlay for Frisk was just blocking it. False. Alright, let's say. So if we click something, we should not expect it to go to false. It does not go to false. And that one goes to false. So 0, 1 is false. This one does not go to false. So it's not resetting it, so that's good. And the true should not go to false as well. Yeah, so okay, so it picks it out, so we cannot select a new one yet. Yeah, that should go into some internal game logic eventually. But alright, but if we select one, it should, but there's no way to know if it's select one or not. So that this is silly. This is silly because we don't know. Then we should implement some game state transition here as well. Nice thing would be to have just some fields clickable, and then hand over to Reframe, the event handler, and then based on the events, just deal with the game state there. And the only thing that should happen here is to say, well, hey, it's your turn. Hey, it's your turn. Hey, there is an entanglement, and then you need to select the outcome. So we can get rid of these, right? But we need that metadata to go through the game states, so the state machine basically. So yeah, so we create a state machine. Yeah. So per turn we have a state machine, and at the game level we have a state machine. Either we're just playing or we're collapsing. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Something to think about. I think, yeah, what's time? 11:30. Yeah. So let's leave it at that for now. Yeah. I'm quite curious, Martin, if you have some good ideas about handling the game state right here, because that would be very nice to have that at the in the core of the event handling, because then we don't need to implement a lot of logic when it comes to the board itself, and then we can just have the event handling mechanism deal with it. So yeah, let me know. I'm going to try and fix the notifications for the issues, because it's very good. So we can basically say that we have taken care of this one. Taken care of this one in live coding 002, and we did that by using generation. Right. There we go. Close the issue. So if we have more things like that, let's add save the file. Yes, let's add it to the source code as well. There we go. Stage these changes. Going to there we go. Add cell selection to the board. I'm just thinking that probably now I added some test cases and those will fail now, I think, but that's fine. Yeah, so let's give it a good think session about the game state, but I think if we put the game state in the event handling mechanism, we can actually have a very nice game logic part that is just within the events, and then reuse that same logic when it comes to the observing of the game. So let's give that a try. We'll do that next week, Friday, 10 a.m., same time, same place. And see you guys then. Have a good day. See you next week. Same time, same place. Yeah, I'm guessing the stream will already be closed when you read it because of the lag. So have a good day, and Tyro says hi as well. So goodbye.